Aye, shepherd's pie. Greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the channel for another walk and a talk. My second of the day, so my camera is quite hot. So I may have problems. I just finished doing a walk and a talk, but I'm inspired. I thought I would do another one because there's something I want to get off my chest. Not a video I would want to make this one, but I think it's something that needs to be talked about, and because I'm starting to ponder whether I was wrong about Dumaguete. Because if I was, it's very disappointing. But I know there's a school of thought, it takes a strong man to admit when he's wrong. I think that's a load of nonsense. It's an idiot who won't admit when he's wrong. But there you go. Because I was either wrong about Dumaguete, or Dumaguete is changing. And sadly, not for the best. So what am I talking about? There appears to have been an influx of a-holes recently. No other way to describe it. Now, when I came to this conclusion a few nights ago, or a couple of weeks ago, I thought, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe it has always been like this in Dumaguete. I have just been very lucky, and I've not come across it. Or it's changing. But I was out the other night with some friends, and I made the observation. I said, have you noticed over the last few months that there has been a growing number of arseholes arriving here? And one of my American friends said, brother, no, it's been the last year. They're everywhere. And basically, my observation was confirmed by the people I was out with. We've all noticed it. So I don't think I was wrong. I don't think I have been just lucky so far. I think there has been, the place is taking a turn for the worst in terms of the natives here, which is very disappointing. I'm not talking about Filipinos. Filipinos fantastic, you know, always felt welcome here. Never really met a bad Filipino. Can't say I've met a bad man. I mean, what they say in Witness, you know, how do you know if a man is bad unless you can look into his heart? But anyway, I digress, you know what I mean? But yeah, sadly, I mean, one of the things, if you watch this channel for a while, you will know, and there will be people who are going to say, oh, if you spend your time in bars and you do this and you do that, and, you know, and they're going to make judgments on what I'm saying. Okay, fair enough, each to their own. True, if you don't socialise in the evenings, if you don't go out to bars and resto bars and that kind of thing, you're probably not going to come across these people. You're probably not going to share the same observations. And that's one of the reasons why I'm making this video. I'll be interested to know if other people living in Dumaguete, or the Philippines as a whole, are coming to the same, have had the same experiences and observations as I have, or coming to similar conclusions. Maybe it's just a doomer thing. It might well be, but you know, just to give you a bit of context, if you're not new to the if you're new to the channel, I've been living in Southeast Asia now for coming up 15 years, and 7 or 8 of those years I was living in the provinces in Thailand. There weren't any other expats. You know, the only other expat where I was living in Phetchabun was like 6 kilometres away, another village. So I have lived the life of you know, living with the natives and not mixing with expats. And I really enjoyed it. You know, I was very happy. But I didn't realise what I was missing. It's only when I came to Dumaguete and I settled here, I realised how much I missed. You know, an expat community. People you could talk to. People you had things in common. People you could speak English to. And that has been one of the selling points ever since I arrived here. You know, it has been the expat community here. Because I've lived in a number of countries with expat communities. I lived in Pattaya and Jomtien for a while. There's a huge expat community there, but they weren't my kind of people on the whole. you know. So, you know, you've got to be careful with your expat communities. When I was in Buriram, there was an expat community in the sense that it was very small and very spread out. But you could go to a certain swimming pool at the weekend and sit and have a beer and things, and they really weren't my kind of people. So I just stayed with my Thai friends. That was just my life, and I was happy, as I say. But it was only when I came to Dumaguete I realised that I'd been maybe trying to convince myself that I was happy, that, you know, I used to avoid expats, as a lot of people say in the comments. That was me, I was that guy. But it's changed since I came here. I got active on the social circle, started hosting some of the quiz nights at different bars and things. I've really liked it here. And what I've liked about it is how friendly and how welcoming the expat community on the whole was. It is, I've said it many times, what makes this place for me, and the vast majority of people that live here, are the people. The friendly, welcoming Filipinos and the friendly, embracing, welcoming expats. Now, don't get me wrong, there have always been a few arseholes here in terms of, you know, getting bar from this place, bar from that place, rolling around on the ground and fighting, you know, when they've had a few drinks. I am friends with those expats that have been here a long time. You know, it takes different folks for different strokes, or different strokes for different folks. Have I screwed that expression up? But, you know, I'm not judging like that. I know who those people are. They're quite famous, or they were famous in the area. And, you know, you know them, I can have a drink with them or whatever, but I tend to avoid their company because you kind of know what you're going to get yourself into, you know, if it's a heavy night or something like that. And you're going to get that anywhere. But what surprised me about Dumaguete is how few there were here. But by Christ, the last few months, I have bumped into several newbies who have come here with an attitude. It is not conducive to a good night out for me. I'm not claiming to be a hard man or anything like that, far from it. And I never ever go looking for trouble. But there is something in my nature, I find it very hard to back down. So if something happens, and it's happened 2 or 3 times in the last few months, I've bumped into one of these people. They have been particularly obnoxious. They have tried to throw their weight about, and I've bitten, and I say I won't back down. And fortunately, on each occasion, they have backed down, or the situation has been diffused. But I hate that. You know, the next day I feel so guilty, and I think, why did you just not walk away? Why did you let yourself get dragged into that? And, you know, the first time it happened, I went straight back to the bar the next day and apologised to the owner. And he said, what are you talking about? You did nothing wrong, it was him. You know, I'm amazed how you managed to control yourself for so long. You know, because that kind of stuff bothers me. I don't want to let people down. But it's getting the situation now, and I don't go out as much as I used to. I really don't. Now I'm with Ellen. It's rare I go out, but I'm finding myself having to avoid certain bars because I could just not do with the aggro. And you can tell these guys, I mean, I say that they do tend to come from one particular country. I'm not going to name the country, you can probably guess. But that is not a reflection on that country, because that country is by far the vast majority of expats in Dumaguete, you know, because I know people are going to ask me in the comments, are you talking about these people? You know, they are by far the majority. So, you know, the laws of averages, the majority of the arseholes are going to come from that community. But you're getting to the stage now, you can sense them. They come in, they order a drink and a shot, and they sit there, and you can just see it stewing on them. And it's only a matter of time before they start getting belligerent, or they start taking the piss. You know, and that's my thing, you know, I'm British, I'm a piss taker, so they will make a sarcastic comment or an ironic comment, and I'll make one back. And then you go, and then before you know it, out of the blue, it's like, you talk to me like that, do you want to step outside? And as I say, I'm one of these people, you know, each time it's been, no I don't, sorry if I offended you, but if you want to go outside, yeah, we'll go outside, we can sort it out if you want, if that's what you want, and you're serious, then fuck it, let's do it. You know, and I'm not proud of that, I'm just saying, that's how these situations have ended. Unfortunately, each time they haven't wanted to, and I'm glad they didn't want to, you know what I mean, I'm not, I say, that is something I've got to work on myself. You know, a few years ago I didn't have the self-control I have now. But as I say, I hate it. I hate it. Each time it's happened, I've spent the next couple of days thinking, God, that's embarrassing. Why did I let that happen? Why did I just not walk away? Why didn't I leave before then? But then the other party thinks, who are they to force you out of a bar where you're having a drink with friends? And I say, each time, the amazing thing is, I have been with friends, minding our own business. But, yeah, there's a growing number of them. And sadly, I mean, I've got no plans to leave Dumaguete now. I know my haters will say, oh God, why don't you just go? If you don't like it, leave. Because I'm hoping it doesn't carry on. I'm hoping it's just a trend, but I don't know where these people are coming from. Well, I know the country they're coming from, but I don't know why we seem to have had an influx of them now. And it's not just me. You know, I'm hearing stories regularly now of this happened in this bar or this restaurant or this person did this or there was a fight on the street, and, you know, it's not good, chaps. You know, we're all of an age now where it's fucking kid stuff. You know what I mean? I just don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, these people are angry. They are angry. But it's not the place to be angry. I'll tell you 2 reasons why. You ain't going to last too long if you come in. If you're coming here with an attitude like these people seem to, angry at the world for whatever reason. I've come in the forest now because it will cool my phone down. It probably won't overheat. You're not going to last long here. As I say, I know a few people who've been here a long time who fit the mould of the people I'm describing. But they've got history here. They know people. They've got friends going back a long way. But they're still banned from half the bars and restaurants and that here. You know, they find it very difficult to go out now. And they're people who've got roots in the community. They're people who will get a bit of leeway. These new ones, they haven't, as someone once said, earned their stripes in the expat community. So if they carry on like that, they're either going to get filled in, or they're going to fill someone in, or they're going to get banned from everywhere, and they're going to find, I say, it's a small community here. Everyone knows each other. You know, your word can become mud very quickly. But as I say, it is slowly, slightly changing my view on Dumaguete, which is why I'm making the video, because I don't want to. I like to be as honest about my thoughts and experiences in the Philippines as possible. I've made a number of videos bestowing the virtues of Dumaguete. If I see an issue with the place, then you know, I'm going to talk about it, because it would be disingenuous of me not to. You know, it needs to be said. And say, if it was just me who'd had these observations and no one else, I probably wouldn't have made this video. But I'm sharing the observations of a number of people I know, and it's a shame. And I'd say I don't know why now. I mean, hopefully it's just a blip, an anomaly. I say, I've still got a lot of good friends here. I still enjoy doing things. It's just a shame that I'm finding myself thinking, I'm not going to go this bar. Not because I'm avoiding a particular person. It's just like one particular bar. Just so happens that the 3 altercations I've had have been in that bar. So you start to think that bar is attracting the kind of people that I don't want to socialise with. And 2 of the guys who I had arguments with, nearly fisticuffs, I've seen them since. You know what I mean? They've nodded, and, you know, there's no bad blood there. It's just so totally unnecessary. And it is one of the things that, you know, I liked about Dumaguete, the fact that this is the noisiest goat I've ever come across. It's the opposite of what Dumaguete should be in my mind, because it blew me away when I first got here how friendly it was, how un-aggro the vast majority of people are. And it's the way it should be when you think the average age is, I don't know, probably 60 at least. You know, I am, believe it or not, 54, one of the younger expats here. Not the youngest, we got a few in their 20s and 30s, but the majority of people here are retirement age. And their and our days of behaving that way have long gone. So why these people, and they tend to be ex-military, in my experience. In terms of the stories I hear, not necessarily, you know, the ones they were, 2 of them were ex-military. So they've probably had experiences or whatever, I don't know. But as I've said before, the Philippines, in my opinion, is not a place to come where you're angry to escape your problems at home, because if anything it's going to make you angrier, because you'll get a lot of leeway from the police and things here. You know, things in a Western country you might get arrested for and kicked out, you'll get away with here for a while, and then before you know it, your whole world will come tumbling in, because you can get the book thrown at you if you upset the wrong people or do the wrong thing. You can disappear here quite easily, you know. So I don't think the longevity of the people I'm talking about in Dumaguete is going to be that long, unless they change their ways. But yeah, have I just been lucky? I mean, is it a case of these people have always got the sun behind me now? I don't know how I avoid that. Turn the camera around a little bit more this way. Have I just been lucky? Have I been fooling myself about Duma? Or has it changed? Hello? I think it's changed. In fact, I'm sure it is now. You know, when I first thought about making this video a few weeks ago, I decided not to, because I thought they're just my views. Maybe it's me, maybe I'm the one with the issue. But I've heard so many stories recently from bar owners about this happened the other night and that happened, and you know, say my own experiences and friends I've spoken to. Yeah, Dumaguete seems to have become an arsehole magnet for some reason. But as I say, I'm not trying to put you off. Might sound like it. You won't be surprised to hear that this video has not been sponsored by the Dumaguete Tourist Board. And it is a small number. And as I say, if you're going to, you know, I'm pretty sure there are certain bars I go to sometimes and you never see any trouble in Sideways. Or I never have. God, I've been going there for years. I mean, you can avoid it. I say it's just annoying when you've got friends who've got bars and that you want to support, and restaurants and things, and you shouldn't be thinking, right, do I go there tonight or do I swerve it and go somewhere else? When it's not the owners or the staff's fault. It's just these morons that have come to the Philippines with an attitude. I don't know. I suppose the Christian way look at it would say they're troubled souls, bless them, but no, I just wish they'd piss off. I think some of them will. I just hope it doesn't get any worse. And as I say, it is still a minority. It's still a minority. Still, the vast majority of expats here are pretty spot on. Certainly the ones I know. But yeah, there seems to be something in the water recently. And they all seem to be single. There all seems to be a pattern. You can tell them as soon as they come into the bar. They just sit there and they don't engage, and they're by themselves and never with a woman. And if they're not drunk, they're drunk very quickly, because they're doubling up. They drink what they call it, Americans call it a boilermaker. They're having a beer, and then they're having a shot or whatever it is on the side. And yeah, they're just, they do tend to be the vast majority from a certain. But one of the guys I had a row with, he was I'm not going to name the country, but he wasn't. And there are a couple of British people over here who've been a while who fit the, you know, that fit the same thing. You know them. So it's not just, you know, one particular country. It's just the influx recently of these people is from that country. Anyway, I'm not going to. I've made a point of not naming the guy. You all know who I'm talking about, and it's nothing against them. I mean, of the friends I was out the other night with, 4 of them were from that country. You know what I mean? So it's but yeah. Troubled souls would be the nice way of looking at them. But I tell you, you know, it's not going to work out for them. I don't know why they've come here. I mean, if you want to be like that, go to Angeles or somewhere. You know what I mean? Don't come here. I mean, we are extensively an old people's home in the sun. What do you want to go to an old people's home for and cause aggro? I mean, it's a retirement community, Dumaguete. A retirement community. We don't need it. But again, hey, I don't speak for Dumaguete. Maybe you live here and you don't share my observations. Maybe you live here and you want a bit of action. You think it's a good thing that they've come here. Well, tell me. I would love to know. I say this is something that has snuck up on me by surprise. Something I'm not happy about. Is this a friendly goat or is it going to ram me? No, it looks like a friendly goat. Yeah, is it just Dumaguete? Am I wrong? Do you have any ideas on what's caused this influx? Is it like it in other places in the Philippines? I always appreciate the comments, but I would really appreciate the comments on this one, because it's something that I can't quite get my head round. What has spurred on this this changing demographic? Anyway, I said enough. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash a like button. If you haven't subscribed, it'd be fantastic if you did. But whether you do, or whether you don't, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay safe and be lucky.